Thanks for tuning in to the Women's Vibrancy Code, a podcast dedicated to helping women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feeling turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. I'm your host, Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, keynote speaker, and self-made entrepreneur. I'm the founder of my signature program, the Women's Vibrancy Code. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about your energy, hormones, libido, and embracing your feminine power. Oh, and you might want to have pen and paper to take some notes on some of these episodes. I have the amazing Alysa Rushton with me today. Alysa, would you be open just to introducing yourself right at the get-go?
Yeah. Hey guys, how are you today? I love this community you have built, and the people in it is really incredible. And I just I was getting ready to hop on this live stream and podcast with you today. And I was like, oh my gosh, these incredible beings I get to go hang out with today. So thank you guys for being here with us. And thank you for being on the cutting edge of, people who are really wanting that vibrancy in their life and willing to do the things that it takes to get there. So first I wanted to start with that. Thank you for having me. I am a near-death survivor, died on the potty like Elvis and a lot of other people. And one of my biggest missions since coming back to planet Earth is helping people understand that they're divine in physical form, and understanding that we are making the biggest shift humanity's ever made in the last 1,000 years. Right now, that's happening right now, this huge transition. And so I got the choice on the other side to come back for it, and I'm here for it. And I'm really excited, but I also very much understand that these times are challenging because we're going from separation consciousness to unity consciousness. And that shift requires a lot of different skills that human beings at this juncture do not necessarily have. So it feels like this really pivotal time, and also it slowed down a little bit. And I'm actually grateful for that, to give us a little more time to pace ourselves. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. I'm here. I'm excited for what's happening on the planet, and I'm very much aware that it's not easy times, and that we all need support, myself included. Just because I got a lot of downloads and codes on the other side doesn't mean this last week I really walked through some dark nights of the soul. And I have this saying that life brings us people and circumstances to show us what needs healing, and to show us where we can heal. And so I really believe that that's what this life is about, our healing lifetime. So that said, that's me, and I'm excited to just dive into it today.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I heard separation versus unity. I heard that it's happening now, and we might not yet have the skill set, but it's coming. And I
Right.
also heard that you're in the place of churning too, and a birthday. And as we're recording this, we crossed over 1111 portal, and what did you say? Dark night of the soul. So can you share a little bit more when you're in it? You're in your own version of it. And I'm guessing it feels like as you're doing your own healing work, I'm guessing you believe that that has a ripple effect into the collective.
Yeah. Oh,
What does
yeah.
that look like for you? Where do you go? What do you do? How do you see the scenario?
Oh, I love this question. So I believe that our lives are a live workshop. Literally, we came down here as souls and scripted what we're going to learn through and grow through. And it's like, oh my gosh, I just got this live workshop. I signed up, I bought my ticket. Here I come. I picked my parents, I picked my people, I picked my planet, and I picked my curriculum. And so we go down here, and then we lose touch with who we really are. And then we're in this unconscious live workshop of our lives. And then many of us, myself included, start to deal with it on autopilot. And we sort of meet life as it comes to us, versus understanding that we're the ones generating life We're the ones that I have this saying that our DNA actually informs the field. In fact, there's this great study done in Lebdev, Russia, where your DNA literally changes how photons show up. Photons are subatomic particles, and depending on whose DNA is in the test tube, the photons arrange itself differently.
Oh my goodness sakes.
Right. And
Ugh.
so the implications of that study, that our DNA is this transmitter and receiver. If you look at your DNA under a microscope, it actually looks a lot like a 5G antenna. And so with your cell phone, you transmit and receive data. Well, same thing with our DNA. We transmit and receive data. Most people don't understand that we've got 8 billion realities on the planet right now. We don't have one reality, we have 8 billion. And so, with our personal reality, stuff comes into our world to show us where we're healing. And then, yes, that healing ripples out to the collective when we do it. And I'll give you can I give you a silly little example of how this works?
Yeah.
So, I was at brunch with some ladies celebrating my 50th birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
You celebrating all year long. It's the year of birthday. So we're at brunch, and I have this code because we're always coding ourselves. We're always coding our lives. So and I love the vibrancy code, right? We're
Mhm.
coding ourselves with that code. So I have this code that my meals are always amazing. They always look incredible. They taste incredible. I get exactly what I need. And I have this thing. But when you have brunch with 5 other women, what can happen is other people come in with their code, which can be my meal's always wrong. Everything's a problem. Have you ever lunched with somebody like that where it's like everything's going to be a problem?
Not necessarily lunched, but yes, I have those people in my life.
And so I know that going in, and I create a bigger code frequency for the table. And
Mhm.
so, anyways, we get to lunch, we get to brunch, and brunch comes, and everybody's meal looks amazing. It's like so over the top, like incredible. Everything's just vibrating off the charts. The plates are beautiful. It's like they took 25 minutes just plating the plate.
And just to interject, you're in Hawaii on the Big Island, and I think this lunch you're talking about was at the Four Seasons. So for listeners, when she's talking about the vibration, like she's not kidding.
The
Okay.
vibration off the charts, except for one woman. We had ordered the same thing. We had both ordered acai bowls. And she looks at her bowl, which was like half melted and really, it had 2 scoops of acai and whatever. Mine had 3 and was beautiful, brimming, gorgeous. And she said, "Do we order the same thing?" And I said, "Yes and no." She's like, "What do you
Mhm.
mean?" I'm like, "Well, my order always contains that it's going to come out perfect and more amazing than I could ever imagine. And you don't order that way." And so what to about like this dark night of the soul, one of the things we have to remember is we're constantly coding our lives. We're constantly scripting our lives, and we get to take responsibility for what's showing up in our world. So when you say, how does that dark night of the soul show up for me? The first piece is, if something's coming into my world, whether I like it or not, I take responsibility for it. And
Mhm.
so at lunch, I asked her, I'm like, "So when you order, like, what's your script?" And she was like, "Well, mine is everything always comes out wrong." I said, "Okay, great. So now that you know that," she's like, "I want to take your code." I'm like, "Do it. Take the code. You can draw off me." And that's one of the great things about working with somebody like you, who's this vibrant, vital woman who's really got the code installed, is that when people work with you, they can instantly download the code. They can
Mhm.
activate that coding within their system because that's how our DNA is wired. We imprint that in our DNA.
Oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts and so many questions because thank you for saying that. And there are plenty times in my life where that example, not necessarily with food, but even this last week, what I thought I was ordering is not what showed up. You know, an individual that is very, very to me, a like deep, dear, tender place of love that would ideally be a place of unconditional love came at me in text messages kind of out of nowhere in a kind of like, wow, this is really out of character and not loving and what's going on here, what is happening. And the ironic thing was, so that was over the last couple days. And then this morning, there was a moment where I was walking the neighborhood and there was an individual who, over the last 6 months, had felt very hurt by a mirror that I had put up. And today she was open and loving and hugging. And my husband and I both went, wow, look at that contrast in the midst of 2 to 3 days. And so I go, okay, where do I go to do my own work and shift through the energetics of it, not necessarily going to the individuals and talking through, because we're all in our own reality, is what I'm hearing you say. But, okay, where did the energy change? Where did my code change? And so my question is, I'm hearing two things. On one hand, it comes from our DNA, meaning our genetics, from my parents and my grandparents, that in some ways it's like set and impacting protons.
Hang on though.
Okay.
Yes, and your soul imprint
Yeah.
across also lifetimes. And that's the big thing that modern science hasn't yet caught up to. And I'm here to tell you that probably in the next 10 years, we're going to be able to see this. We're going to see it on a microscope. You'll be able to see it. But it's not just your epigenetics, it's not just your parents and your grandparents. It's your soul across all soul lifetimes
Hmm.
that imprints into your DNA.
So
And
here's the question though. In some ways, that can feel kind of disempowering. Like if
okay,
it's all predestined and it's imprinted onto my soul, then why do work?
no, that's not true.
Totally. So explain, help me on, help
Yeah.
us trust
Nothing
that that's not true.
is destined, and you have a lot of programming to rejigger.
Yeah.
Nothing's predestined, and you've got a lot of programming to rejigger. We're here on planet Earth to learn through some things. Once we get these foundational lessons, then we actually get to escape that karmic cycle of having to come back here and do it again and again. Part of also what people don't understand is time's not linear. This is all happening all at once.
Yeah.
So when you heal something here, you heal it generationally and you also heal it multi-universally. So for those of you guys who are not yet in this conversation, because I know some people aren't, your soul is having multiple lifetimes at once. And so if you have something that's intractable here, like you just have been throwing everything at it, nothing's shifting, nothing's changing, it's because it's also happening at the multidimensional level and you have to shift it there. So the
Mhm.
thing is, the cool thing is you can and should heal it, but you have to heal it differently than we've been taught. And in today's society, we've been so cut off from what healing really is. We're still piece parting it together. Like we're still even some of the best functional medicine practitioners are still only dealing with the body. We have a physical body, we have a mental body, we have a emotional body, we have a spiritual body, and we have a soul body. And if you're not addressing things at all of those layers, of course it keeps coming back around. Of course it is. Of course you're still dealing with this again and again and again. So you haven't yet addressed it across all of the layers, right? It's like if you have heart disease and you're only dealing with the heart, of course your feet are a mess. Of course, like
Totally.
of course, because you're only dealing with this layer. So we have to remember we are more than just the body layer.
Absolutely. I love it. It's in my world vitality. And we bring it back to we're kind of where we started around separation versus unity. And what I'm feeling is surges of loneliness
Mhm.
and feels more and more collective. Now, not everyone. And I choose to desire to elevate up to being with individuals where I feel deeply connected and deeply present and have a strong sense of belonging and support and being held. And it's an interesting time in the world. We're recording this. There was just an election. There's scenarios of unfriending and separation and kind of putting the microscope, so to speak, on some of the separation more than the unity. I say that because it's not it to be my reality. So that's one subset. Let's put that away, but can we talk about it? What is
Yes.
happening and how do we elevate to doing our work and being and feeling in all aspects of our bodies a deep sense of unity?
I love this question because the biggest problem with our American election and all the separation that's coming from that is we've forgotten one really big piece of information, and that's that we are a soul in a physical body. And our lives here in America, but I would say in most westernized societies, have been set up in a construct that is not at all taking into account that you're a spiritual being, that you're a
Mm,
soul in a body. And so part of what we're encountering is there are those of us right now that understand that I'm a soul in a body and I'm connected to everything else and everyone else. And there are those of us that don't yet get that. And so those two things are fighting with each other right now. And so one of the biggest things that we can do is catch ourselves when we're in separation consciousness. Awareness is key, right? Whenever you're making somebody else wrong so that you can be right, you are in
mm,
separation consciousness. Look, we are all here learning through and growing through some very basic lessons, how to be loving and how to work with our thoughts, feelings, and emotions to consciously create. That is basic universal stuff. Because look, I'm here to tell you there's many more places you can go outside of Earth that are more interesting, more loving, more fun. However, you can't go there if you don't have these foundational pieces installed in your energetics. Makes sense what I'm saying?
mhm. Yeah, I wish that I could have those that are listening be able to ask their questions because I don't quite have my finger on the pulse of what questions might be popping up. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was observing coming up within me is, do you know Gary Zukov, Seat of the Soul? Okay, so he's a very dear friend. He's like family, and he's at our home probably once a week. We're close,
Mhm.
and lots of conversations. And what I hear from him is that our soul is actually so much more grand and so much bigger than what we can imagine. It's a part of our soul that is here in this incarnation. And so that's even bigger than what I'm hearing from you. Like it's not just that we're a soul that's the collective, but right now in this experience for this 60, 80, 100 years that we live in this body, it's just a part of our soul. And the other parts are existing and living in different realities in different realms and all times at the same time.
That's
And
what we
that's
just talked
so
about, right?
cool to think about.
You're multi-dimensional. You're existing in all these planes and all these existences
Mhm.
because time is not linear. We've been taught that it is, but it is not. It's like a pancake stack, a
Yeah.
big old stack of pancakes
Yeah.
that your soul, think about like a stack of 24 pancakes. Your has many more lives going on than that.
Mhm.
But
Put some
like, think
butter on top, some peanut butter, some syrup. Not, we're not going to eat that from what I know about you.
but no, we absolutely are. But some pancakes are going to have a way better time, right? Some pancakes, they're going to have more peanut butter. They're going to have more syrup. They're going to have more butter. Some part of the pancake stack are going to be really dry. Some parts are
Hmm.
going to be soggy down at the bottom. But they're all going to be. Here's the key: they're all going to be dealing with peanut butter and syrup and butter. So if we can get that concept, like, and maybe your pancake stack has blueberry jam and powdered sugar. All of the pancakes are going to be running the energy of blueberry jam and powdered sugar. Okay. They're not going
You're
to be
so
running.
It's you're making me think about that pancake house over on the Hilo side. Do you know Ken's Diner? Is that what it have you been there? Okay, I'm staying focused. But so here's what I'm realizing is in this example of the pancake stack, there's a through line.
Yes. There's a through line that your soul is learning across multiple lifetimes. They're all
Yep.
happening in your pancake stack. And so you're going to be dealing with the same themes that is a through line. For many people, this is illness. For many people, this is not having relationships that they want. For many people, this is learning how to manage your emotions at different stages and states. And so when we're coming into this unity consciousness, in order to have unity consciousness, we have to have a certain skill set. And we just don't have that right now. Humans are trying to develop it. And so the first piece is like to the loneliness. Okay. We've got to get to the loneliness to understand I want connection. Earth is a contrast. It is learning through contrast here. That's what we do on Earth. We learn through the contrast. We learn through physical experiences. So if we can get that, okay, I'm going to do a little contrast learning. Might not be super fun, but sometimes it's going to be, right? Okay, great. I can get that. So first, we got to realize, ooh, I'm really lonely. I actually took those connections for granted. Oh, I desire connection. Okay, great. And now I know I desire connection. Okay, now, oh, in my community, actually, these connections that I had were formed in a different consciousness. I made friends with people that do not lift me up. And one of the biggest questions we can ask ourselves when it comes to connections is how does this connection make me feel?
What if
And
it's a connection that's a family tie? A
well, hang
father,
on,
an aunt, an uncle. Okay, I'm listening.
talk about that a second, but hang on. And how do I make this connection feel?
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. Like, how does this person feel in my presence? And how do I feel when I'm with them? And does that resonate together? Because in the past, we have not done that. It's been one sided. It's either been, oh, this person really needs me. I don't feel all that great in their presence, but I'm pretty codependent and I have pretty bad attachment styles that haven't been healed yet. And so I'm going to make this person my friend. All of that unconscious,
Yep.
right? So then we then go to, we need to do something different. So right now, a lot of people are having those moments in their life where like, oh my God, my friends, oi, I have people in my life that really don't vibe with me and they might be really unhealthy. And what do I do now? And we might have parents, to your point, or family that we came into the lives of, and they might be really unhealthy.
Mhm.
So, where I go with that is the following process. Can I give a process?
Give it.
Okay. So the first thing I like to ask people is, well, what would you have to have the program be running in order to have this experience in your life? You're the computer and you're the one generating your experience. What program, unconscious, right? Because obviously, if it was conscious, you would not be running it. So you can't beat yourself up for it. So, what program would I be accidentally running in this lifetime or others to be experiencing this? So, it might be something like people are mean to me. It might be something like people love me, but then reject me. It
Well,
might be,
yeah.
what's that?
I'll give my example
Yeah.
because that might give it some tangibility. So, one of the programs or codes that I would love to shift
Mhm.
is that people won't do what they say they're going to do. They won't be dependable. And so I will need to take care of it or do it all myself. And so the self reliance, the walls go up. And so I'll observe myself quickly. And what's interesting, I'm curious just to, for those that are listening to have some, and I can hear what Alyssa has to say about it. Last week, I had a session that's like primitive reflex unwinding, kind of like rebirth work, going into deep reptilian brain stuff. And through not talking, body movement, energy work. And so as I was doing this kind of rebirth work, there was a realization that it is really natural for me to expand my energy and be out in the world, but that to come back in and be in the place of self-soothing felt really uncomfortable, like unnatural. And so I go, all right. So there's this code where somehow I've picked up that people will leave. Those are so that would ideally, like mom, dad, those are close to us, would ideally offer unconditional love. I was taught or programmed, I picked up the program that they don't. And so now I go into self defense, but not necessarily self soothing. It's more of a walls up, fight energy. And so there's this reprogramming that we did somatically. And then the ironic thing is now within 4 to 5 days, there's a family member that's close to me that out of nowhere came in with this like kind of what feels like attack, or and I go, wow, right. So there is energetic work being done where hopefully I'm resetting the program, resetting the code. And I'm guessing, I'm curious what you think about this. This programmer code was also then being kind of like threatened or changed. And then we go, I don't even know what's going on here. Is this tangible example?
Absolutely.
Okay. So now we become aware of, oh, there's a program, there's a code. And what do we do with it next?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Awareness is the first key. Like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And I think it's really important to that most humans have been trained when somebody in your life is, I'm going to assume that this person came into your world and they were behaving badly and it didn't feel good on your part. And um, something happened on your end that didn't feel good. It's, what happens is we have a tendency to point the finger at this person. They're being that, they're doing this. This happened to me, that happened to me, they did that to me. And that's the human program that we've been taught. So what we have to back up and do is ask different questions that are not gaslighting ourselves. And I think that's the important key. You're not gaslighting yourself. You're looking for the wacky program. You actually said yours. You said, people leave me. And you actually talked about an example of you held up a mirror to this neighbor and she sort of vanished, right? That's, you're seeing the program in operation.
Yep.
And the program can come in different ways. Maybe it's this person who comes in your life and sending you these, and it's queuing up more energy of people leave me. So I would suggest that that's the fundamental program that's got to get clear is people leave me. And what happens is we unconsciously run these programs and we don't understand that when two fields come together, our programs mesh and intertwine. And let me give you a very tangible example of this, because I don't think people understand the level to which this operates. So, two people are at a restaurant, they have the same server, they're sitting at different tables. One person has an incredible experience with that server. The server's so nice to them. It's a wonderful, positive interaction. Wonderful tips are left. And the other person sitting at a table down, same server, has a terrible interaction and they're snippy to them. The server is unconsciously going into the program that this person has. And the server is even wondering, like, God, why am I was really actually kind of not cool to them, but I don't know why. Have you ever had that where you say something to someone and you're like, I don't even know why I said that. That was weird.
Right. It's like my programming somehow weaving with their programming, and we go, abort, disconnect.
Like you're matching with the program. So we have to understand that we're always matching with people around us. And one of the things, like I have a really solid safety program, right? So there's certain people that will come into my field and maybe possibly mean harm, but they like literally can't come in, and they're different. They have to be different. So we have these codes within us, but we don't understand how much they impact other people. And so that's the first piece, is like recognizing, okay, what would I have to believe? What's the unconscious program here that would have to be running in order for this person to treat me this way, or to do this thing, or this circumstance to happen? This happens a lot in business, with finances. It's like, well, what would you have to be running in order to be having this? You even called one out for yourself. You're like, I have to do it all myself. Right. And that's a big one that we learn in childhood wound. Have to do it all ourselves. We can't trust anybody else to do it for us because of all that uncertainty that was going on. We're kind of better off on our own than we are. Right. So it's like, oh, I have to do it all myself. And that's how I stay safe. And then what happens is a lot of self-reliance, a lot of expansion. People who have that program are usually fabulous entrepreneurs, but then at some point they hit this place where they're doing it all themselves and it's really hard. And then they might have a moment where their team that they hired is horrible and they're like, I have to do it all myself again. It's just all they have to do is actually shift that program. And so
Yeah. It's so vulnerable too to put myself out there to go, okay, guess what? I'm not perfect. And
people have it.
real and so important to be like, here,
Yeah.
like, wow, self-awareness of a code. Wow, there's a number of examples we've already pinpointed just in the midst of a 40-minute conversation. And then we go, okay, now what might that code look like if I want a new reality of how I want to interact with my neighbors and my family and my finances and how I do business and how I show up as a mother and a wife and a friend, so that the patterns that really don't feel good shift and we go into a universal feeling of unity consciousness and new subsets of boundaries that serve us because there are new codes and programs that serve us. Yum. Okay, so
Right.
what do we do, Alyssa?
Well, first, I think it's really important to say a couple things about what you had said, which is when we do the healing work within us and we shift a code, it does have a ripple effect. And we think, again, that we're on one world and we have one reality. No way. You have 8 billion different realities, and I can prove it to you in a moment, right? Like literally, the reality that I have, I live in paradise on earth. I live in heaven on earth. It's an amazing reality. And some people live in a war zone, you know? It's we literally have all 8 billion different realities. Now, here's the thing. If you understand that piece and that your reality is overlaid in other realities, the more you shift and become the healthy cell. Like if you think about your one cell in the body, okay? Your reality is one cell in the body. The more you become that healthy cell, the more you transmit the frequency of healthy to all the other cells. And that's how we repopulate the body, is one cell at a time, right? If we have cancer in the body, we repopulate the body with healthy cells and we overtake what's happening and we reprogram and reinform the body. So here then with ourselves, if we think about we're one cell on planet Earth, cells, then we can go into, let me shift this for me. When I shift this for me, this ripples out in my world and I'll see a shift. And then let me see the shift happen elsewhere. New earth, unity consciousness, whatever you want to call it, the next level of life happens as and through you. Doesn't happen on the outside of you. A new president doesn't create it or not create it. It happens as and through you. So then once we get that, we can make so many profound changes. And I have literally seen people completely recode their entire bodies, like get rid of cancer. I have seen people recode their relationships with their parents or their friends because they're unconsciously running this program. By the way, one of mine is over reliance on self-reliance and having to do it all myself too. So I'm right there with you. I've had to do so much with this. And yeah, so it's one of those things that we just have to do. So the first piece is find the code, find out what it is. What would I have to believe? What would the have to be in order for me to have this experience? Write it down. Some people need help with this. Some people need to bounce it off a coach or a friend. Like what would the have to be if I keep running into this situation again and again? And then once you figure out what the program is, you want to figure out what's the opposite of that. So if someone's having these things in their life where people are always leaving them, what's the opposite of that? What would be the desired program that we would want to install instead?
Mm. Right. So, a deep sense of belonging. They stay. The people in my world are dependable and they offer unconditional love and support. We accept one another for our ups and downs and perfection and um, it's loving through and through.
Beautiful. Yeah, and we take
Hmm.
responsibility for our side of the street, right?
Hmm.
Those are the friendships. So then the process that I walk people through is a process of engaging all of the soul level and the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical body. And we literally tap and delete that program consciously. We talk to it, we look at it, we scoop it out, invite it to go across all time, space, dimension through the main energy centers of the body. And it literally looks like this. If you want it to, should we do this really quick for the people?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I like to find out where this lives in the body mostly. When you tune into like, do you want to do, I have to do it all myself or people leave me?
Sure.
Which one?
Oh, which one? I have to do it all myself.
Okay. Where does that live in your body? When you say that, what do you feel?
In my stomach and my chest.
Yeah, we're going to start right on your chest first.
Mhm,
So we're
mhm,
just going to tap right here, really baby gentle, using your ring finger and your middle finger. Super
mhm.
baby gentle. And what we're doing is we're engaging the body and we're letting the body know, like, hey, we love you. And we're going to flow energy through this center. So it sounds like this. You're going to repeat after me. I now release
I know
in my physical or energy body,
in my physical or energy body,
in my cells, soul, and DNA,
in my cells, soul, and DNA,
where I've accidentally been running the program
where I've accidentally been running the program
of having to do it all myself.
of having to do it all myself.
I release this now.
I release this now.
I no longer need to learn through this
I no longer need to learn through this
across all time,
across all time,
spaces,
spaces,
dimensions,
dimensions,
and realities.
and realities.
Now, how did your body feel when you did that? Did you feel like a cold release? Like, what did you actually feel?
It's interesting when I opened my eyes, my vision changed. Everything looks a lot brighter, and the energy feels big and expansive. Like, yeah, it feels like expanded.
Yeah. And so we're literally going into the all of it, basically energetically scooping it out, scooping your body, your DNA, your soul is a supercomputer, but you can program it and unprogram it through your consciousness. You absolutely can recode yourself in every possible way. So now, normally I'd walk you through all of the chakras. So we want to do a delete, but we also want to do an install. Okay. So can we would normally come down to your solar plexus to
Hmm.
do this. You can do this later. You'll come and do more of your chakras. I always like to get the solar plexus, the sacral, which is about an inch below above your belly button, and then go 2 inches below your belly button and do that tapping sequence again till you feel like you get a really good release. A
Hmm.
release feels like cold wind in your body.
Hmm.
And what you're also doing energetically, if you're not doing this with a coach or a healer, is you are literally imagining you're using your consciousness to quantum entangle this code being pulled out of all parts of your system, and you're seeing it go. If you need help, you pull in your angels and you're like, angels, come and just clear this for me. I also like to use essential oils, and oils create new memory cells. So you can rub a little oil. Do you have some essential oil?
Yeah, I have a parasympathetic blend.
Perfect. So now's a great time. We're going to install a new code. So we're going to just rub some oil in the hands and breathe it in. And we're just going to invite that golden elixir of parasympathetic energy to come in and through and gather up any last little particles of that old coding that you don't need anymore. And just as you breathe in that smell, letting the golden elixir of light come in and clear out all the places and spaces in the energy system. And we're going to invite and invoke a new code in the body. And we're going to come down right to 2 inches above your belly button. And we're going to tap right there and say, I now command.
I know
It is safe for me
that it is safe for me
across all soul lifetimes in my cells, DNA, and my physical body
in my cells, DNA, and physical body
to receive support.
to receive support.
It is safe for me
It is safe for me
to receive unconditional love. There you go. It is safe for me to have community
to have
that supports me,
that's
soul and physical level.
at soul and physical level.
I command and activate this now
I command and activate this now
in and through my energy system
in and through my body and energy system
across all time,
across all spaces,
dimensions,
dimensions,
and realities.
and realities.
Good. And really feeling you're good at this work, really feeling that coding getting pulled down into your sacral and your root center, right? You can feel that coming down and like anchoring in that code of safety, that code of it is safe for me to receive that support. It is safe for me to like open so that I can, right? People
Mhm.
and love me unconditionally. So that's the process. That's the divine light energy healing process. And, it works at the multidimensional level. And it's actually pretty simple. I mean, it's pretty simple and creates profound shifts for people. And sometimes, certain codes you have to spend a little more time on. Like,
Yeah.
ideally, we would spend way more time on the recoding of this.
Well,
And
and
then,
even as we were doing it, I was feeling the other codes kind of grabbing on, like the entanglement
totally.
of going, yeah, I can feel that dropping down, but oop, there's this other code that's like, nope, this code can't exist without this one that's being let go. So how someone who wants to really do this would bring you in to really clear it and clear the programming and codes that are still unconscious, but they're in knots and tangled up and really interrelated. And there's layers. This is so good. I wish we could continue to talk forever. And I also want to honor your time because I'm guessing you have another call coming. I'm good, but I want to make sure that there's time and space for you to also share for those that are listening and they're like, oh my God, this woman is amazing. I want to learn more. What does this look like? Can you just make sure that you can speak to where do people find you? How do you support people in the world? Who is it that you support and how? And then if you have time, I'm sure that there's more that we could talk about. But I just want to really make sure that there's space for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, one of the best ways that you guys can get connected to me, I have an awesome toolkit for you. It's a Raise Your Vibration toolkit. So it's a lot of the energetic tools that really helped me after I came back to earth, after I was back in my body. I needed some support. We didn't talk about my story, but I was 240 pounds. I was on, 28 medications, including end of life pain management. And I used a walker to get around. I couldn't even read because my brain was such a mess. So these are the energetic tools I used to get my body back and to get my life back and to reclaim my full self. You can go to raiseyourvibrationtoolkit.com. It's totally free for you guys. There's a little code in there. When you click on it, it'll be free for you, especially for you guys. So yay.
Thank you.
And yeah, the work I do in the world now is I have an academy where I teach the energy healing work that I learned on the other side. I teach people how to reprogram the body. I teach people how to scan for what codes are happening in their clients' systems to help the clients see it with clarity from an energetic perspective. And yeah, it's a certification program, but it's such a to know how to do it, because ultimately most of the people that come into the academy are doing it professionally, but they all use it for their personal lives. And
Mhm.
everybody who's come through the academy is like, oh my God, my holy, my whole life changed. My relationships, my bank account, my physical body. And it's so interesting to see like what happens when you have to practice the work of finding your own codes and having people help you and practicing with other practitioners. It's just so incredible to get to witness every day, all the time with
Mm.
come into the academy. It's really rewarding to see them, because my thing is I don't want to heal anybody. We are the perfect healing cocktails within ourselves. We just need to know how to access those healing cocktails, and we need to
Mhm.
know how to access that for ourselves. So I'm definitely like, I'm not, I'm going to heal anybody. I'm going to show you how to heal yourself so that you continue to do it. I'm trying to work myself out of a job over here.
Well, it's you can just living in Hawaii and I think Spenza, whether or not people love him or not, his research institute is proving that in the and in meditation or whatever modality is being used, it is changing hormonal cocktails. It is changing physiology. And so for those, yes, for those in the podcast, the two resources that I have for you, one is the free Raise Your Vibration Toolkit. We'll get that coupon code. So it will be in the show notes of the podcast. And
You
then
don't
I
need
also have, say that
a
again.
You don't need a coupon code. It's already taken care of for you.
Okay, cool. Amazing. And then Alyssa's most popular workshop and I have that link too that gives them 75% off. So that's the Miracle Portal Quantum Jump.
Yeah, so I have a 2-day workshop. It's called Quantum Jumping, and it's literally where we go in, we find your deepest core wound code and we reprogram it. It's a virtual recording workshop, but it's amazing. It's life-changing.
Cool.
And then on day 2, you go in and you do the big recode. And
Okay.
so, yeah, that workshop is life-changing. You literally I get things from people all the time like, "Oh my God, I just did this 2-day workshop and I got moved to Spain. I always wanted to move to Spain and I moved to Spain.
Hmm.
My relationship, it's so good."
Yum. So I'll put both of those links in the Facebook Live that's happening real time. And then for those of you that are in the podcast world or if you're listening this on YouTube, just find the podcast, find the show notes. It's the Women's Vibrancy Code, and you can grab those links. And yeah, anything else, Alyssa, to add that feels unsaid? We'd started it talking about separation versus unity consciousness and the value of boundary setting. I'm hearing loud and clear the awareness of the underlying codes and programming and how we can actively shift it.
Yeah. Yeah, and knowing that we are in a huge pivotal time, I see it as a 20 to 40-year pivot, especially the next 20 years. So the date to demarcate is there's a huge planetary shift. Pluto is headed into Aquarius. It's a time of massive transformation. Literally, what's happening the last half of 2024 into the early bits of 2025 is starting off a 20-year revolution of change and transformation and upshifting, upcycling it. And so just know that you're in very highly charged with a lot going on, a lot of energy, and that the more healing you do within yourself, the more it ripples out, the more you take charge of like, oh my gosh, this is happening in my world. How can I heal this piece? My belief is this is your healing lifetime across all lifetimes. Like this one is your healing lifetime where you sort of alchemize the pancake stack and heal it and
Mhm.
get yourself to be able to move on.
How
But
exciting. How
totally
exciting to
right.
be able to go, wow, okay, here's this program, here's this code. Like I can either fight it and be in the victim role and bemoan it, or I could say, this is the lifetime. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, and it's true. This is it. And to your point, you have to make that choice. Have to make that choice because human beings have been conditioned and programmed to be in victim mode because it keeps them disempowered and keeps them as part of the system. So we're in this place where we're claiming back our sovereignty. We're trying to figure out our boundaries. We're trying to figure out like what really works for me, what doesn't, and what do I need to shift? What do I need to realign within myself? What new value do I have for myself now that I didn't have before? A lot of what's happening for people is maybe they had a lot of low self-worth, or maybe they didn't understand a situation. And now you can finally see it coming. You know when you meet that person and you're like, actually, this connection isn't going to be positive for me, because you feel it in your system. So we're coming into a unity based system where we feel it first. I call it frequency first. So you feel like, oh, this connection is going to be positive or not. And then anything that happens after that is on you. Like if you make a connection, I'll give you a great example. Like let's say you're looking for a place to rent, and you talk with the landlord and you get this nasty, gnarly feeling in your system. Anything you do past that, like, oh, you sign the lease and then and then you start running into all these problems with the landlord. No, it's not the landlord. That's on you because you overrode your internal boundary system. So we're trying to learn how to have this internal boundary system and feel our feelings.
And what if it is a mother, a father, a sister, a brother? I mean, for individuals that are deeply ingrained in our DNA and our blood, and um, that's a big deal. It's very different than, oh, I'm not going to sign that lease and I'm going to go find a different home. Or, wow, this felt really good. And then either my programmer code changed or maybe their programmer code changed. And now it no longer feels good.
Yeah. Well, family is our biggest source and teachers of unconditional love. My dad's an alcoholic and he says some awful things at times, and he's still living. And he's been my greatest teacher of unconditional love and boundaries, because you may have somebody in your life that is deeply unhealthy for you to spend a lot of time in physical proximity with. So it's like, okay, what boundaries do I create? And how do I hold them in unconditional love? And what inner work do I have to do to not go into they are wrong, they are this, they are that, because what we put out circles back to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like that blame and judgment definitely comes back around to us because we are not separate, even though we think we are. So it's a process of okay, I might not call you every day, right? It's a measuring how much do I, the human, have tolerance? What actual boundaries do I need to put up around this person and still be able to hold them in unconditional love? And with family, the great news is we get chance after chance after flat on our face. You go to Christmas, you go to the holiday, festive, Hanukkahs, and you're like, wow, I really was not able to hold them in unconditional love. Wow, they really triggered me. Wow, I started being a certain way. And once we can start to look at that piece, and it's not really about them and how they're being at all, it's about, okay, who am I? Because it's easy to be loving to loving people. The work is, can I still hold the frequency of love, unconditional love, even when someone's behaving really badly? That is the work that we're here to do. Fundamentally, that human beings, most of them haven't yet figured out, even when somebody disagrees deeply and is a family member with my political views, and they're going to tell me all the reasons why I'm wrong. Can I still understand that they're in their stages of learning and love them unconditionally? Can I not get wrapped up into the battle that they're trying to create right now? And can I be different? Can my frequency be different? And for most people, myself included, we need a lot of practice with that.
But how beautiful on the other side. If we all actively shift the code, go into this unity consciousness, and use the lifetime to do all the healing. And if there's a collective that's all doing that,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, what a spectacular possibility on the other side.
Well, and you just nailed it. There was a study. I wish I could quote the study exactly, but it was a study that had 20 people, and all 20 people were meditating on this drum beat that was computer generated. So the drum beat, 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 and they were meditating to try to change the beat of the drum. And guess what? They did it.
Whoa.
So that's the thing. We can actually, with our collective, the more we're putting in the work, we are shifting the drum beat.
Mm.
Literally are.
Do you have a couple more minutes or do you need to go?
Let me check. I do. I have a more minute. Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Okay,
free.
so here's my last question, and this is fascinating. So I just heard the study where they're studying mice or rats, brought the mice near a really yummy piece of fruit, and then right as the mouse went to eat the fruit, they electrocuted the mouse. Okay, poor little mouse. So now the mouse has associated this yummy fruit with being electrocuted, so don't go near the fruit. Here's the interesting thing with the study is they found that the children of those mice had the same reaction and behavior to being near the fruit
Totally.
and the children's children. So
Oh,
literally 2 generations deep of there's the fruit, avoid the fruit. Then they took the grandchildren and said, okay, if you go near the fruit, but you're surrounded by community and you're held and show that it's actually safe, they ate the fruit and yummy, yummy, and then passed down 2 generations deep. So, is it possible that my code is potentially my grandmother's code?
oh, 100%. Well, we already know in modern epigenetics, we have studied it. It's actually 7 generations back
Whew.
that we're able to see in our very archaic scientific tools that we have in 2025, which by the way are not anywhere near what we need to see all the things. I believe it goes the history of humans.
Mm.
And so it's a tough imprint, but once you know you hit, right? Once that mouse understands this is an imprint and I can reprogram the imprint, that's the empowerment. We're here to reprogram the imprint. I don't believe we would be here at this time if we weren't supposed to reprogram this imprint. I believe that we're here to understand that we are our souls in a body, that we're divine in physical form, that we have so much more power than we've been told. We've been told no matter what, don't go eat the fruit. No matter what, you can't have the pleasure. You're going to be in pain. That's the program that we're breaking.
Mhm.
I do believe that we have all of these beautiful cosmic gifts and skills and talents, and people just have been deprogrammed and even told that it's bad to use them. You don't know how many business owners and light workers and healers I run into that are like, if I out with my gifts, I'm gonna be because it's like back in the oh, what was that time where we were killing people off and burning the stakes and all the things, right? Like that's so embedded in their DNA, and that's way more than
Wow.
2 generations ago.
Mhm.
And so it's like, you've got to go in and heal this stuff. And one of the biggest things that we're healing as humans is the fear program, to
Mm.
be afraid of everything. In fact, animals, when you don't have the fear program, animals actually act really different, you
Mm.
know, and we've had such a fear embed into our systems that we're in the process of trying to deprogram this. This is not an overnight thing, but we are working on it. And that's the mission I'm on, is to help people clean up these rather unfortunate
Yep.
programs. But like I said, I always go back to this is our healing lifetime, guys. This is why we came here. We've got all the tools, all the data, all the understandings to know like we can actually do this. And it makes this huge ripple effect and we can actually change what's happening,
And 7 generations deep.
at least.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. I'm sure everyone is listening is appreciative of you. If you're listening, go to the links that Alysa has offered. Follow her on social media. There's lots there. Go into the show notes of the podcast. I appreciate you. And cheers to a code for women to feel vibrant.
Here's the vibrancy code.
Code. Yum, yum. Thank you so much. You're amazing. And I'm glad to know you.